Hi, we're here with Dr. B to talk about parenting. The subject we're going to talk about today is on guns and violence. So, Dr. B, I have a 5 and an 8-year-old, and we were watching the news about the recent shootings. How do I lead the conversation with my children in regards to guns and violence?
Well, I think we lead the conversation about guns and violence as parents and as adults from a stance of safety and protection. Our job as parents and adults in the world is to keep children safe and feeling protected. And so that's one place that we want to start. We also want to help them gain perspective by being allowed to ask questions, and we can pull for questions because they might not know what to ask. So we want to give them the opportunities to have conversations with adults that they trust and care about. One of the things that's really important to keep in mind is children's developmental stages. Children experience TV and life through different lenses at different periods of time. So a 3, 4, 5-year-old who's still kind of struggling with fantasy reality could be watching the news and see, let's say, the airplane fly into the building at 9/11 and think that it happens, and then they go to a commercial and then they show a repeat, and then that played over and over and over again in the news during that 9/11 crisis. For young children, they believe that's happening over and over and over and over again, when in reality, it happened once. Well, it happened twice. So what we can do as parents is say, I know it seems like there's a lot of planes going into a lot of different buildings, but there's only one. Or we can also shelter them from seeing the news. But that's such a life-impacting event that people are still talking about it. So it's good to elevate our children's reality to the truth. It needs to match what's really happening, and then we're bringing them out of that fantasy world that they sort of struggle with. Older children are thinking more about could this happen to me? Or could this happen to me, or could this happen to my family? They're also egocentric in the sense that they're afraid of what happens out there to those people. What if it happens to me and my people? So that's important to say as well, or to have a conversation about. What if, does it worry you that this could happen to our family? Or if this were to happen to our family, what do you think would happen? Or just opening that dialogue up so they get to have an idea of if something happened to someone in my family, what would be the outcome for them? They need to know that. And also the other thing is that they don't typically think that they believe what people tell them. So if somebody is hurting them in any way, or, say, if I'm bullying you, and if you tell your mom that I'm going to hurt your mom, then they're going to believe that. So it's important too to sort of dispel the myths that come with how people manipulate children in ways like that. So we say, somebody might tell you that they are going to hurt me if you tell, but that's never going to happen because I won't let that happen. It's my job to make sure that doesn't happen. And so you can always feel safe in talking to me.
So on the news and social media, they make inferences that the violence is a result of bullying.
That, to me, comes across as a very simplistic response to a very complex issue, which is bullying in and of itself is a very complex issue, and we don't have any tried and true blanket responses to bullying because every situation is different. And so we have to get to the root of bullying before we can stop it and deal with it in a healthy way. So the first thing is dealing with bullying is complicated. In terms of gun violence, there are a lot of reasons why somebody might turn to a gun and commit a violent act. We've heard about mental illness. We hear about bullying. We hear about, okay, how about the 4, 5, 6-year-old who's just curious and finds a gun and doesn't really realize that if they pull the trigger, it will shoot somebody. We've had that kind of gun violence as well that's completely accidental and unintentional. So what's important is to ask why. What is the root of this issue? And each issue is different. And as we begin to tackle them in a thoughtful and meaningful ways, by building relationships and allowing people to ask questions and getting people the help and the support that they need, I think that that's what's going to recede the gun violence. It's going to bring it back.
So what is the most helpful thing that parents and or teachers can do?
I think the best thing and the most effective thing that parents and teachers can do to support children is to let them know that they're scared too, that this is a scary topic, and but that you create an environment where kids can have open conversations, ask real questions, and sometimes play games that are slanted towards problem solving, because kids don't always have the experience to think about how they could be in that situation. If we set up, oh, hey, what if you're in this situation? What would you do? What if you're in this situation? What would you do? What if your friend's in this situation and you're just watching it? What would you do? That allows children to really think through critically some ideas. And then, guess what? When they are in a situation that's unexpected, hopefully not one that involves guns or bullying, but when they're it gives them the ability to improv their response. It gives them the opportunity and the ability, the skill to come up with ideas on the fly because we played these kinds of games, which is such an important skill for children to learn into adulthood, because often we have to come up with an idea on the fly to keep ourselves safe or to get whatever we need done.
Thank you. It seems like we really need to talk with our children.